to our podcast, Beyond Reality. Today, we are with a great science researcher, Maureen Venselaar, Dutch researcher of near-death experience. She's a humanities scientist, counselor, author, international speaker, sole founder of a new and non-dualistic NDE, which means near-death experience theory, and her NDE theory is based on astrophysics, which is so amazing. Oh my God. This theory receives great international reviews, and that's why I would like to share with you a couple examples before we say hi to this great science researcher, Maureen Venselaar. The Institute of Noetic Sciences, this hypothesis is intriguing. Venselaar has dug deeper into the puzzle and may have found some missing pieces. She proposes a significantly updated theory. The board of the Near-Death Experience Research Foundation. This theory is outstanding and intriguing work. IANDS, which is the International Association for Near-Death Studies, chair of the Committee for Integration Studies and Support. Venselaar's theory is a beautiful quantum theory. Professor Dr. Bruce Grayson, who we also had an interview with, professor of psychiatry and neurobehavioral sciences, and a renowned NDE expert and researcher, has said about Maureen and her work. The five-phase NDE theory of Venselaar has a very wide range of supportive sources. And last but not least, Professor Hayden Dayalı, Emeritus Professor of Psychology, Radboud University, the Netherlands. An awesome new NDE theory, and it's impressive that alpha sciences as well as beta sciences constitute this new NDE theory. Beautiful reviews about your new theory, Maureen. But first, tell me about your study and research.
Well, as you said, I was a counselor for about 20 years. So in that time, way back in the 90s, I heard for the first time about the near-death experience, and I was so intrigued by it, Denise. So soon after, I started my literature study and later on my retrospective field research. And at first, I looked into the Grayson NDE scale and Ring's weighted core experience index. But in my research, the main criterion was that the experience had to be related to a serious threat to life or the sense of being dead. And as you might know, this is typical for the so-called classical NDE. And furthermore, the out-of-body experience stayed to me a very important distinguishing feature, just like many other researchers argue. In my field research, I spoke to 750 people, and among them were 78 NDEers. The interviews were in-depth guided conversations, informal, and with open-ended questions to prevent bias as much as possible. And in the end, it took 10 years. I collected beautiful and qualitative data. I analyzed all data, of course, and checked these data with other research. And next to that, I derived from all these personal experience a more objective, accurate, and theoretical NDE. Of course, as complete as possible with all known features till that time, including very old and even forgotten, but very exciting features. I'll reveal some of them later on, and I think you will be blown away by it. I'm sure of it. And finally, I analyzed the two mainstream explanations in that time. So, Denise, this is in short about the methodology of my research and study.
Excellent, excellent, amazing. Of course, to review you, to interview with you, I have reviewed your studies, and oh my God, I was really astonished. It's really outstanding. And I think it has to be spread worldwide, because I think it's going to open a lot of doors for anybody who really has thoughts about NDE. And it is also very beautiful that we have this interview in Ramadan with you, where also we believe that there is no death, but there's always an afterlife. So it's a great pleasure to have you once again. I just wanted to express that once again.
Mutual. I'm very grateful. Thank you.
So let's go ahead with our other questions. So Maureen, what are your main conclusions of your literature study and field research?
I got three main conclusions for now. And my first conclusion is about the two dualistic mainstream explanations of the NDE. And it's the same as the Common Science Group of the University of Liège in Belgium concluded a couple of years ago. On the one hand, the neurological theory still fails to explain all features, and to my opinion, not even in a coherent way. For instance, one has to undergo, for example, electrical stimuli or extreme G-force, use drugs or sleep or hallucinate, all at the same time to explain a complete NDE. And to me, that makes no sense at all. And on the other hand, concerning the supernatural theory, there is no evidence for it, according to the Common Science Group of the University of Liège. Supporters of this supernatural theory argue, based on the ideas of William James, that the brain never produces consciousness, but only receives consciousness. And one assumes that this consciousness is outside the physical body. It is a universal consciousness. And unlike my own NDE theory and my concept of consciousness, this universal consciousness is not considered to be confined or localized to specific points in space and time. I disagree. You will hear that later on. But the thing is, concerning the supernatural theory and based on the conclusions of the University of Liège, the Common Science Group, there is no proof. A second conclusion based on my study and field research is that the classical NDE, as described just a minute ago, is really related to the afterlife. Let me explain this. One cannot, on the one hand, accept that the NDE is a concrete, real, authentic human experience, worldwide millions of people, and on the other hand, deny some features, like afterlife. To me, that's really inconsistent and also very unscientific. So based on empirical evidence, the NDE gives for sure a sneak peek of afterlife. And this afterlife is for all of us, as they say, regardless class or race, religion, culture, or any other parameter. And moreover, it's not only for everyone who lives on Earth, but also for everyone in all time. NDEers emphasize that as the NDE continues, that the past, present, future becomes more irrelevant. And in the end, they say one day is like thousands of years. And you must know, you probably do know, these descriptions of time are also quite similar to God's time, as described in Holy Scriptures of different kind of worldviews. Yes. And with that in mind, my third conclusion is that dualism as a framework to explain the NDE is really outdated. According to me, seemingly separate entities like, as said before, the past, the present, the future, time, eternity, and even the physical and metaphysical world are all part of the same reality. The only thing is, you know, due to limitation of our sensory perceptions, we experience in our daily life just a part of this one and only reality. Such a non-dualistic worldview is maybe hard to grasp, but renowned physicists like Tegmark or Campbell do underline that all these seemingly separate entities, the past, the present, over here, over there, the heavens, form together the big picture. And due to astrophysical phenomena like the speed of light or black holes, time can slow down, or time can even stop, just as ears tell about their experience. So time and place do get relative, but not immediately. To conclude, based on a non-dualistic framework of reality and also a non-dualistic framework of the concept of man, and the hypothesis that the near-death experience is related to the afterlife, as NDE's time and again tell, I started to define and explore my NDE theory. Well, Denise, did this answer your question about my main
Sure. While you were answering my question, you are giving me such data that I connect with the data from Quran, of course, the Holy Scriptures. Mm-hmm. And so, for example, there is a verse in Quran which says, one day with God is 50,000 years with you.
50,000 years.
Yes, beautiful. And he says again, he uses another name for God then, which represents the Creator, but at a certain level that the time is different there. He says, one day with you, one day with God is with the Lord is 1,000 years with you. So it is so amazing that a relativity is expressed in Quran, and just like Einstein, where he says the future, the past, the present, this is just an illusion, but a very resistive one. My Sufi master Ibn Arabi is a great master on time and how time is relative and actually hallucinative. So this is when you are giving me all this data, you are just soothing my heart with this great explanation with a scientific view. So then let me pass on to our next question, where we want to really learn a lot from you. Mm-hmm. Your theory can explain a complete theoretical near-death experience in 5 phases. Yep. What are those phases, Maureen?
First, my non-dualist theory is related to the afterlife, not only with some kind of consciousness, but also with some kind of body, the body of light energy, just like NDErs often tell. And first, I tell you in short what my theory is about. My core statement of my theory is in line with ideas of scientists like Carl Sagan and Stephen Hawking. And they tell concrete that the iron in our blood or the calcium in our bones and so on are all made by stars and by the source of all that is. Some call this source, of course, the Big Bang, and others call this source God. So my theory is based on this fact. And in short, it is as follows. We are stardust and part of the universe and subject to all laws of nature in life at this very moment, near death and afterlife, whereby life and consciousness, including consciousness, are gradual in space and time. I explain this later on, but first, how does the out-of-body experience start based on my theory of the classical NDE? Well, in short, at the moment that people are severely traumatized or really stressed out or even approach the end of life, their sensory perception decreases and the normal state of consciousness fades. And meantime, deep down in the physical body at the atomic and subatomic level, a crucial process starts which releases an extraordinary amount of light energy. And I presume that this extraordinary emission of light, which is, and that's the amazing thing, which is already proven by neuroscientists, creates, to my opinion, another new, pure, and perfect body, as well as another kind of consciousness and a clear, vivid awareness. Thus the NDE and afterlife seem to be possible by a body of light. So the NDE is, according to me, about a shift of life, now connected to my body, and a shift of consciousness, also connected to my body, from connected to the body to outside the body. And you know, this is exactly what NDE is described time and again. And to my opinion, at that moment that the out-of-body experience starts with the body of emitted light, NDEs can travel through the barrier of space and time, as those who have an NDE very often report. And I can explain this a little bit by the laws of nature. And in this context, it's also very interesting, a very new feature of the NDE. And the new feature is a journey beyond planets. And it's described by National Geographic in 2018, as I remember. And I described a quite similar feature years before, namely seeing the Earth, moon, stars, and so on from space. So to me, that's very exciting, such a new feature. And to me, the NDE is without doubt a real journey. So this is in short my NDE theory. Shall I continue with the 5 phases on my theory?
Yeah. Yes, please.
Yeah, okay. Well, concerning complete theoretical, you know, I formed a theoretical NDE based on all the experience worldwide. I described 5 phases. And, you know, it's needless to say that not all NDEers experience or remember all phases or all features. However, the sequence of events and my 5 phases as described, and I will tell you, are evidence-based and, for instance, in line with the results of research for instance, by Dr. Moody. And to my opinion, the first 3 phases are part of the final event, which happens to all of us at the moment that our time has come, at the moment that our time is ended on Earth and continues in the afterlife. Well, let me explain the 5 phases, comparing to an ordinary journey, you know, a holiday. First, yes, most easy thing. First, you know, you leave your house, in this case, the physical body. And the ears describe a separation from their body. They leave their house, their body. This is phase 1. Next, you make a trip, you know, it's a holiday and so on. You'll make it. This is phase 2. And the ears experience gaining distance from the body, a journey beyond planets, a vast, dark, cold space, not that nice, but also going at the speed of light through an endless tunnel. This is phase 2. And after this phase 2, they slow down and even stop. And they are in the presence of a heavenly light. And this light is unconditional love. It's the best love we ever will experience. And this is the 3rd phase, being in this heavenly light. And in the metaphor, it is your holiday destination. And over there, in the light, and the ears meet their so-called deceased loved ones. And of course, this is a very touching moment. We all know people, loved ones who already have passed away. So based on NDE stories, we see them again. And I will see also my guy who
Oh.
died 5 years ago. But, over there, and he has also noticed there is a border and they cannot cross this border. And next, and this is of course phase 4. And in the metaphor, you'll start your way back. And NDEers do also, although most NDEers want to stay in the light. You must know that. And the journey back home to the physical body is phase 4. And in the end, finally, during a normal holiday, you are back home. And this is phase 5. And the ears re-enter the physical body. So, Denise, these are, in a nutshell, the 5 phases of my NDE theory of a theoretical NDE.
Before I pass on to the next question, do they have any idea how much time they have spent? Do they have the concept of time anymore?
No, not during the NDE. First of all, they do have it because you see, for instance, their vacant body in the ambulance, and they follow the ambulance by floating above it. So at first there is for sure some concept of time, some experience of time.
Mm-hmm. Will you elaborate on phase 1, the separation from the body?
Okay, I will, of course. Well, that's the most amazing thing, I think, of the NDE, because it's for a great part proven. Phase 1 is about the onset of the out-of-body experience and the onset and the start of the NDE. It's about, in a metaphor, about leaving your home, and in this case, your body. And at that moment, people feel that, for instance, their senses get blurred, or they lose consciousness. It goes black for their eyes. And sometimes they also feel waves of energy and all kinds of bodily sensations deep in the physical body prior to the out-of-body experience. Mm. And then, next moment, they pop out of their body in a blink of an eye. It goes quick, as they say. And next, and the ears tell they had some kind of translucent body of light energy. And the physical body, sometimes they see their own physical body, the vacant body, well, is no longer relevant anymore. They are floating above it with a body of light, or they're standing next to it. Moreover, there seemed to be some kind of string or cord connecting the physical body and the body of light, say the ghostly body. And there is a connection, and this connection stays okay as long as the near-death experience continues. This first phase, the out-of-body experience, is a little bit confusing. They don't know what happened at first, not all. But mostly NDEs are blissful and completely in peace. And moreover, they are without any pain. The vacant body crashed by a car or whatever. So at this moment, they are without any pain. So they are delighted about that. They have a new body of light. And you must know, they tell that they have still their own memories and their own thoughts. And moreover, they even seem to tell and state that they have the same 3D shape as before, as the physical body they left. But, as the NDE continues, that's the amazing thing, the NDEers seem to notice that the light body changes during the NDE as it continues. Some describe, for instance, while I was looking for my parents, my legs vaporized. Or I was just a ball of light and only my arms and legs were sticking out of that ball of light. And others say, well, I was just as small as dust. I was nothing else as a grain of sand. Well, being as small as dust or as small as a grain of sand, that seems really scary. But the size of our body during our life or the near-death experience or afterlife doesn't matter at all related to the vastness of the universe. You know, it doesn't matter whether we are 1 meter 80 or something like that, or as small as a dust of rain or dust and a piece of rain or something like that. Now, you know, well, as said before. And it doesn't matter because the universe is so inconceivably huge that it doesn't matter how big or how tall we are. And there is something else about his face. And to me, that's another astonishing thing. And I heard it over and over during my lectures as a response after my lecture. Because in some cases, the event of leaving the body is seen by family and healthcare workers. I will read one of these testimonies. I have wrote it down in my book. I will take my book with it. It's about a doctor who is standing next to the deathbed of his aunt. And he tells, the physical body of my aunt became slowly lifeless. I saw a throbbing, misty fog leaving the body of my aunt. It had human forms, and it was almost a perfect copy. It hung about 60 centimeters above the bed, and a silver cord, which was vibrating over living energy and pulsating light, connected both bodies. In the end, the silver cord broke, and the spirit body of my aunt took off. Ain't that a beautiful testimony? And did you know, Denise, that already in the 60s, biologist Krukel was one of the first scientists who documented such testimonies of seeing an emission of misty light out of the body of loved ones near death. And other researchers have similar data. A lot of scientists forget these data, but to me, to my opinion, they are very important. Other researchers are, for instance, psychiatrist Laubscher and psychologist Alvarado and clinical psychologist Wills Brandon. So it is in data, the emission of light and seeing, you know, the out-of-body experience by bystanders, family, friends, doctors is registered in data. Let me recap. On the one hand, data shows that, and the ears tell that it went out of the body and became some kind of being of light. And on the other hand, data shows that family, friends have seen emissions of misty light out of the body of their loved ones near death, which even forms a copy.
Again, you know, I'm astonished. It's awesome. And just like you mentioned, we also believe that the soul is like a holographic copy of the body. So the body is like a more slow vibration of that holographic, entity. So it's like a cover. It's like a cover that the soul is wearing. So it is also mentioned in Islam that we see each other with our, we call this dress. We call this body the dress, which is in our shape. So it's amazing that, you know, all these teachings, ancient teachings, they are talking about the same thing. And but before I step to how you explain this remarkable event based on your astrophysical NDE theory, this out-of-body experience, I would also like to also mention something about what you have just said. You know, when we talk about these things, they call it pseudoscience and stuff like that. However, in the interviews that I have made with so many scientists, neuroscientists, and great scientists and researchers like yourself, they always said that there's something beyond that we cannot see. And some of them were really materialistic before they began this before they fell into this experience. So I think technology is now showing us that more actually, that there is beyond so much what we call material. So this way or that way, they will come back to the roots of the ancient teachings. That's what I believe. And also it's going to be so supportive, because you have just mentioned about Carl Sagan and how he, it is a very, for me sad, because I learned from Carl Sagan that I was from the stars. However, in Quran, it is already stated. But after I read astrophysics and I studied physics, I understood the ayah, the verse, that it was talking about the supernovas and how we came from them and how humanism has come from the stars. So to be able to understand these ancient books, actually, the teachings, we also have to understand a bit of science, so that we can just match the knowledge together with what is stated before. So again, how would you explain this remarkable out-of-body experience based on your astrophysical NDE theory?
Well, I thought that it's already proven that at the moment we are approaching the end of life, there is an emission of light. But to elaborate on that, we must understand that the 3 billion of atoms of our body are buzzing with all kind of energy. There is kinetic energy of the electrons, kinetic energy of the nuclei, and for instance, the potential energy of the interactions between electrons and nuclei. So ask yourself, where does this life energy go? At the moment we are severely stressed, traumatized, or approach the end of life. Or where does our life energy go when we cross over irreversible to the other side? This is, to me, a very important question, because based on the laws of energy conservation, energy cannot be destroyed. It can only transform in a blink of an eye. And as you know, energy comes in a couple of basic forms. You have electrical, chemical, radiant, mechanical, nuclear, thermal, and each form can change into another form. And this happens immediately. And, listen to and you say that they were out of the body immediately. To give you an example of this transformation in energy, the chemical energy in burning wood changes into thermal energy, heat, and radiant energy, light. And the thing is, I presume likewise such a fundamental change of energy near death. And this also happened in a split second. And I think that it seemed to be this emission of light and the transformation of energy seemed to be to a certain extent during the NDE, but to my opinion, completely at the moment of our irreversible death. So it's gradual. If we approach the end of life, it's getting more and more and more and more intense. And in the end, at the moment we are really dead, the emission of light, of photons, is zero. How come? I think it can be explained by the emission of light, as said before, as seen by eyewitnesses and experienced by NDEers, as they report about their light body, the body of light, and so on. Why? Because light is energy. So where does our life energy stay? It transforms from this part, it changes, it will go over, how do you say that, to the other body, because light is energy. With the emission of photons, with the emission of light, there is also a transport, of energy. Well, the basic unit of light is a photon. This is the smallest discrete amount of electromagnetic radiations. Photons are quanta of light. And this is really crucial fact to know related to the NDE, because in 2011, neuroscientists Persinger and St-Pierre acknowledge a brief intense emission of photons near death, whereby the whole body energy emission increases by a factor of 1,000. In the scientific world, this emission of light is energy, our life energy. This emission of light is called the death flash. So it has really a name. But note, it's needless to say that all living organisms emit low intensity light. You know that probably. However, at the moment of the upcoming death, the increase of the emission of photons is really significant. And this is independent of the cause of death or near death. So this proven emission of light near death can explain where our life energy stays and the feeling of leaving the physical body by a body of light, because light is energy. And at the moment there is an emission of light, and there is the onset of the out-of-body experience and the start of the near-death experience, then this event of the NDE starts.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I don't know what to say, you know. It is so impressive and it is so amazing. And it is so logical when it is put like that.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's very logical.
It's very it's so logical. Oh my God. So, Maureen, it's really fascinating to listen to these insight that you are giving and just keeping calm over here, because it gives you so much excitement. And it is really, you feel what a wonderful being human is, and how we are immortal, actually. Human is trying to conquer how to live forever, but we already are immortal. Yes.
That's usually that spot on, Denise.
Yeah.
Spot on.
So, as we are stepping to the next question, to get more insight from you, great insight from you. So, is the feeling of leaving the physical body also evidence for the discrete and sudden loss of weight at clinical death reported by McDougall in 1907?
That is one of the questions I hear often during my lectures, but no, I have to disappoint you. It is not. According to neuroscientists St-Pierre and Persinger, the sudden weight loss observed by McDougall was probably the result of a respirator burst of carbon dioxide. So I'm sorry, it was not about a soul, no, according to them.
Yes, this was really popular, you know, this became...
I know. And then last Tuesday, I had also a lecture, and even at that moment, there was this question. So it's bothering people, or they are puzzled by it.
Yes. So was that movie 21 Grams about this? 21 Grams.
Yeah,
you know?
I thought so. Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, then let's step to this next question. So to resume the first phase, NDE, near-death experience, people feel all kinds of very small explosions in their physical body, waves of energy before they leave their body. And according to you, Maureen, these concrete experiences are due to an extreme emission of light energy or quantum photons at the moment of near death.
Exactly, Denise. Well put. Yeah, it's good summarized.
Okay. So how do you explain that leaving the body is without any pain and effort then?
Well, I can't tell, Denise. I did not have an NDE to check this out, but I know for a fact that matter, matter as we know it, is according to physicists like Bohm and astrophysicists like Koberlein, referring to Einstein, also some kind of light. They call it frozen light. And, matter as frozen light, this similarity, this is likewise for our solid body, for our solid earthly body. If physicists Bohm and astrophysicists like Koberlein are right, that matter is frozen light, our seemingly solid earthly body is also made out of frozen light. Imagine at this very moment, you and me, here and now, are in one way or another some kind of beings of light based on matter as frozen light. And to my opinion, the fact that we are beings of light now, here, does not change at the moment of the near-death experience or after that. Therefore, I state that life and death, or life after death, is just a simple transformation of ourselves as beings of light. Consider it, for example, like, you know that probably from high school, like the formula H2O. It changes very smoothly from water into ice and water vapor. But nevertheless, it's still H2O. So maybe, Denise, we transform quite similar and smoothly and painless as beings of light from one life to the next, still being a being of light. And that makes it probably easy and painless.
Again, this just brought me another insight from Sufi master Ibn Arabi. Mm-hmm. He always talks about water, evaporation, and then ice. He says it's the same thing. Yes, hey. This example is something that he uses so many times, and he says.
Well, I copied his idea. No.
It is, it's a universal truth. So the ones, the ones whose hearts can see, just like yourself, they come to the same idea. So it is amazing to hear this again from you, and then this is matching right in my mind and in my heart. So this universal truth, and also you have mentioned David Bohm, who is a great scientist and a great thinker that I really love a lot. So Maureen, a beautiful thought. We are always beings of light during our life and also during the near-death experience and our afterlife. But what other properties of light can support this point of view?
Listen to this. I think that is also an amazing fact. Physicist Howell proved that photons can store and process information. And of course, this experiment of the University of Rochester was a very specific experiment. But this does not mean that the emitted photons near death can't have this specific property to store and process information. And such a property could explain that the new light body is roughly the same as the physical body, just like eyewitnesses like the doctor tell. Either way, NDE's review, I left my body as being of light, or I was still me with my own memories, with my own personality, even with my same humor also. And others say my new body of light had the same shape as my physical body. So there seemed some kind of transport of information along with the emission of the photons and the emission of light. And there is a specific experiment that can prove it.
This gave me also another thing to think about, because when we look at ourselves down to the subatomic particle level, photonic level in that case, so maybe that's how we can be in the parallel universes with our copies at the same time, just like a photon is like jumping from here and there, and all these actually what we see in the mirror is like our reflections can be all around the universe. If we look at it from that level of being a photon with all that information, you can be everywhere at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So, Maureen, is it possible? It's possible that photons can store information about ourselves at the moment of near death, as we leave our physical body as a being of light. What else can you tell us about photons?
Well, the first property is indeed store and transport information. There are more properties that can support my theory. You know, as data suggests, entities have some kind of consciousness and vivid awareness, even during the comatose state and the minimally conscious state. So an important question is, how on earth is that possible? And is there a connection with quantum physics? You know, photons are about quantum physics. Well, surprisingly, there is. In this regard, I refer to, for instance, the opinion of physicist Dyson. He presumes that it's likely that elementary particles, like photons, are related to consciousness. Isn't that great? It's quite possible, therefore, that based on this scientific theory assumption, that at the moment of our near death, or at the moment life after that starts, there is not only a shift of life, but also a shift of consciousness along with the emission of light out of the physical body. Because, you know, physicists like Dyson presumes that elementary particles like photons can be related to consciousness. And moreover, based on empirical evidence, this consciousness is, to my opinion, that's what I concluded, still very personal, in spite of the fact that entities do experience a wonderful and astonishing oneness with all that exists in the universe. And you mentioned it before, but this personal consciousness is also at first, to a certain extent, confined and localized to specific points in space and time. It's not about a non-local and universal consciousness, not concerning the NEE. And why do I argue this? Based on concrete reports, the perception of life and also, of course, self-awareness is at first localized in time and space. And you are probably familiar with such stories. And these are, for example, aware that doctors take care of the traumatized physical body, or and you see the Earth like astronauts do. So, to my opinion, one cannot deny that entities describe that they are at specific places and points in space. But they also tell that as the entity continues, it becomes more relative. Place and space become more relative. And, you know, this is the same with time. At first, NDEs are definitely localized in time, you know, the error of time as experienced at this moment. Why? Because NDEs see, for example, the ambulance driving away with their physical and traumatized body, and they float along with it. Or they see someone giving first aid to the vacant body after, for example, a car accident. And these experiences describe, to my opinion, a quite normal passage of time. But, you know, this is also become more and more relative as the NDE continues. And in the end, the arrow of time vanish into thin air, and the past, present, and the future become one. So how to explain this by astrophysics, I'll come to this later on. For now, it's important to know that the emission of photons out of the body near death can explain that NDEers tell that they were a being of light, and they were also consciousness and had vivid awareness, and they were also more or less the same in 3D as before. And to my opinion, there's another thing which is very important. The more we approach the end of life, the more photons will be emitted, and the more likely it is that NDEers experience more features, more faces, although it's possible, you know, that they do not remember everything after they return into physical body and regain consciousness. So Denise, in my theory, the onset of the out-of-body experience and the NDE starts with the first signs of the death flash made by photons, made by quanta of photons.
Oh my God. Yeah, great. So this was the first phase, and which has so much content. Of course, it is so actually large in every way. When you think of all the points that you have made, it is like books. It is like books. So then, what about the second phase?
Well, as the NDE gets more. As the NDE continues, there's indeed the second phase. It's about the journey and gaining distance from the physical body and from even the earth. And maybe you are familiar with the NDE of psychologist Jung after his heart attack. It had really exquisite details. He described, for instance, gaining distance from the earth, and that his field of vision include from one side the subcontinent of India and the snow-covered Himalayas, and to the other side the Red Sea and the Mediterranean. And later on, when he recovered from his heart attack, he required how far he could have been to see such a wide view of planet Earth. You know, it's from one end to the other end. And it had to be approximately 1,500 kilometers. So it's quite far. And to me, it's mind-blowing to be so far from Earth. But he described it perfectly. You must read it. I show it. It's in this book. It's the Dutch book. I don't know whether you know this book, but it's described in this book. Well, and you know, psychiatrist Jung isn't the only one. Other NDEs also describe gaining distance from the body, or walking through walls, or rising above the clouds. And well, note, you must have heard the stories about Jesus. He also rises above the clouds. And in the end, you know, NDEers tell that they even pass planets and stars, and even have a journey right through other galaxies. So, yeah, I think it's amazing. How about that, Denise? Empirical evidence shows that the near-death experience and afterlife is probably a real journey. Otherwise, you deny features of the NDE.
It's so amazing that, you know, the meanings of, to find out the meanings of, for example, Quran, it is called tafsir. And tafsir comes from the root of journey.
Ah.
Yeah, yeah, it comes from the root of the word journey. And it says to human that you are a guest. It's like we are tourists in this world. Just like Rumi says, don't forget that you are not of the world. You're not from the world. You are just passing through the world. This is just a journey. You know, Rumi always expresses on that. And when you are telling all about these, Maureen, before I step to the next question, is again you make a resemblance in my brain because Sufis, as you know, I'm a Sufi, and Sufis try to die before they die. I mean, get rid of the limits of their senses while they are here, so that they can travel. And when these Sufi masters like Ibn Arabi talk about his journey, he talks about how he traveled to the moon and all these planets and all these galaxies. And how time was different in the other galaxies, how we experience time different. And so that is why it is very important to die before we die, just like our prophet has mentioned, and all our prophets has tried to teach us. So
it's difficult to believe that it's a fact that it's probably like that.
Exactly. And it is, people are trying.
Sorry, your turn.
Yeah, people are trying to go to Mars, but we can do that already by training our brain, our mind, our hearts already while we are here. It's a near-death experience, what Sufis are looking for. That's why it's a controlled near-death experience. So thus, let's come back to your theory, describes the second phase as a journey, even beyond planets, and as National Geographic also acknowledges. So what arguments can confirm this?
It's really indeed, to my opinion, and it resembles like what you said about the Sufis and so on. To my opinion, it's a real journey. And he's described a cold, dark, vast space, you know that. And based on my astrophysical theory, this NDE feature is the most easy thing to explain, because our universe is basically very cold, minus 270 degrees Celsius, but also very dark and inconceivably huge. So the cold, dark, vast space, as NDEs tell, is quite easy to explain. And moreover, NDEs also hear scary and beautiful sounds. This seems a little bit strange, because we all think that the universe is without any noise and very quiet, but it ain't. You just listen to NASA's compilation of spooky sounds from space, and it ain't all spooky over there. If you want, you can listen to also beautiful sounds from space. You can find it on YouTube. So based on experience of a cold, dark space, and also a vast space, including what NDEs tell about spooky and beautiful sounds, and how astronomers describe the universe, the NDE cannot be a strict neurological or supernatural phenomenon. The NDE is at first, without a doubt, besides a spiritual journey of love and light and compassion and personal growth, a dazzling journey through our concrete universe. I'm convinced of that fact.
Yes. Perfect. I have also listened to that sound, the spooky, so-called the spooky sound.
Some beautiful sounds, and otherwise everyone is creeped out.
Actually, I was like not freaked out, but it gave me the chills. It made me like
something like that. It's amazing what sounds there is in the universe, and of course, scientists do convert things, but nevertheless, there's sound, there's music, and it's amazing.
The music of the spheres, right? The music of the spheres. Yes, it's an orchestra. The universe is an orchestra. It's a beautiful
sound. I remember that for my lecture. It's an orchestra, beautiful sound. Beautiful.
Yes, it is. So as we step to our next question is, Maureen, NDE people make a dazzling journey through our universe. Yeah. They even gain speed and travel in the end with the speed of light. How do you explain this phenomena?
Well, people say that they were at first near the body and then rise off the clouds and so on. And in the end, they are leaving the Earth. And based on that feature, I looked to what physicists say. And for instance, physicist cosmologist Stephen Hawking say that light can easily, we are light at the moment, that light can easily escape the gravity of Earth. But first, light has to pass the atmosphere of our Earth. There is an atmosphere. And by this atmosphere, the light is a little bit obstructed. So a little bit, not yet light speed. It's a fraction, but nevertheless, light is a little bit obstructed by the atmosphere of our Earth. So at that moment, light isn't yet fully at light speed. But as you might know, in the vacuum of space, light travels by the speed of light. And this is 300,000 kilometers per second, or 7 times around the world in 1 second, more or less. So based on light and passing the atmosphere and the speed of light in the vacuum, you can explain why NDEs say that they went faster and faster. But they went into space. And you must know also about Muhammad that he went also up to heavens. And it was, according to tradition, a journey over a long distance within a moment's duration with a vessel of the Burak. You must know it. And the amazing thing is that the Encyclopedia of Islam considers the Al-Burak based on the Arabic language as the lightning and the beam. So, maybe he traveled also by light. Who knows? But it's possible. Let me think. Scriptures of Hinduism tell also that Krishna could travel with speed of light from planet to planet. So again, it comes together enlightenment wisdom and testimonies of NDEs. A journey in space. And if it's true that NDEs are beings of pure light, just as they say, then it's, to my opinion, it's quite modest opinion, then it's quite possible that they can escape the gravity of Earth very easily and continue their journey in space faster and faster, and in the end by the speed of light.
Maureen, you have just answered the question for me. With all these insights, you have answered so many questions for me. But also another question, just that you have mentioned about our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. He says he traveled first with Burak, and then he says he traveled then with Refref. So the first one was according, just like you mentioned, it is up to the speed of light, but the other one is faster than the speed of light. So he says there are 2 phases in his journey, one with Burak, and the next one is with Refref. So it is like within the gravity, to the speed of light, but then beyond gravity, more than the speed of light. So It's amazing what you have given me right now as an understanding. So again, great insight. Thankful for all these insights, Maureen. So during the journey, Maureen, NDE people also travel through a tunnel, which we hear so much. I will read some concrete quotes.
Okay.
Space seemed to pass so rapidly that it formed a tunnel around me. The darkness of the sky turned into liquid and took the shape of a tunnel. A hole opens, I twirled toward the hole. Oh my God. It was in a thin and large transparent tube of energy. I was running through the tube at light speed, watching the stars and the universe go by. Another one, I was floating in a dark cone. It was like a tube, a corridor. Another one, looking forward, the tube seemed endless in a vast space. How do you explain this feature?
Well, yeah, above all, these are amazing features of the NDE. But to explain it, we have to think about space. You know, that's what they describe. So what could it be? What could it be? Which kind of phenomenon, of theoretical phenomenon could it be, which seems similar to this kind of experience? Well, to my opinion, these descriptions in combinations with other features of the tunnel experience can only mean one thing. As said before, as long as we stay focused on phenomena in the universe, this tunnel must be a wormhole. And the years and astronomers seem to describe the same thing. And the resemblance in description is very overwhelming. I discovered this similarity in the 90s, and it blew me away at that time, and it still does. And the years describe for sure a wormhole.
Then what is a wormhole?
Well, everyone knows, of course, black holes, and a wormhole is still a speculative tunnel in our universe, according to physicists like Hawking and Nobel Prize winner Kip Thorne. And what is this theoretical tunnel in the universe, this wormhole? Well, it has, of course, it's a tunnel. It's a tube, or how people describe this. And this tube, or this corridor, or this tunnel has two openings. And it can be a connection between two separate points in the vastness of the space-time. And the assumption is that one of these openings is a black hole, a real hole in the fabric of space-time. And as you know, a couple of years ago, very huge black holes are already proven. But at the moment, scientists like, I must think, and I must say it right because it's, I think it's a Spanish name, but scientists like the Regula, I say it right. He's one of the most important theoretical physicists at CERN in Switzerland. He even presumed that very tiny black holes can exist. And an international team led by Dr. Blasquez Salcedo of the University of Oldenburg also presumes that very tiny microscopic wormholes exist. So not only their astrophysicists and physicists presume tiny black hole, but also tiny wormholes. And this is, for me, amazing, because the assumption of tiny black holes and tiny wormholes support my theory. And you can ask yourself, of course, why? Well, black holes can emerge due to immense pressure of mass and can emerge due to immense pressure by mass or energy. And as you know, light is energy. So our light body and all kinds of other phenomena can pressure on the structure of space-time, on the fabric of space-time. Mass, as well as energy, can deform, bend, curve the fabric of space-time and form, in the end, black holes. So the pressure is so much that there is getting a hole in it. And the gravity nearby a black hole, say the pool nearby a black hole, not the swimming pool, but the pool, you know, the pool, of a black hole is so strong that nothing, not even light, can escape from it. Light turns, spins, swirls into the hole according to astronomers. And, you know, this is exactly what engineers tell. They saw how space-time get curved and bent into a funnel, and then next a hole emerged in space, and that they spinned into this hole in the fabric of space-time. So, to me, that's similar in description. And next to this hole, behind this very tiny, to my opinion, very tiny black hole, due to the pressure on the fabric of space-time, the engineers noticed also an endless tunnel. And they went through it, at least with the speed of light. And in the end, you know, another second opening appears, and the very bright light. And this light gets bigger and bigger. This second opening could be also, in theory, a white hole. And it's the other far end of a wormhole. And this hole spits out, according to astronomers and physicists and so on, all kinds of energy and star stuff. And astrophysicists also presume that the end of this wormhole, the white hole, is intensely bright. So if the NDE people are passing the tunnel and see in the end the beautiful bright light, it's quite possible that is white hole the end of a wormhole. And what shall I say more, mention more? Astrophysicists also presume that these two holes of the tunnel, the two holes of the wormhole, can be totally different points in time and even be different points in space. It could connect very long distances. It can even concern billions of light years, but also very short distances as a few meters, just as engineers tell. So could such a wormhole be the same as the tunnel experience and the connection between the physical body and the light body? And could it be the same, maybe, as the silver cord as described in old scriptures? You know, you must be familiar with it. Remember the God of Abraham before the silver cord is broken. And the years tell, I just knew if the cord would break or if the tunnel would close, I could not return anymore to Earth and to my physical body. So, to my opinion, it is all the same. And I think it's very remarkable that astrophysicists, as well as engineers, so basically two different kinds of groups of people use the same words and features to describe such a phenomenon like a tunnel, a wormhole. Don't you think it's amazing, Denise?
It is amazing, and it is amazing. And the tunnel is always reminding me of what we call the Sirat Mustaqim. It is a bridge, just like Einstein-Rosenberg bridge, you know.
Yeah. You know that. It's the same. Yes, the same.
Yes, it's the same. And you know, I love physics. So when you are explaining all these, it is great for me to understand at least the concepts, and because I'm just astonished by all these black holes, white holes, wormholes, yeah, and all these explanations are all, as I said, I find them in Quran. So for me, it is like, and in the Holy Scriptures. So it is amazing for me to see this match with science and and ancient wisdom. So it is very interesting that just like you have mentioned, we are our galaxy is going to a huge black hole. It is more than 4 million times, 4.1 million times bigger than our sun, I guess. And there's so many other black holes in this. Yeah, and there are so many other black holes right now in the galaxy. It is in a way a miracle that we are right now here standing and talking, not being swollen by another black hole already.
I wanted to say the same thing. Thankfully not.
Yes, because as you read more about physics and astrophysics, then you find out more, and then you say, oh my God, there are so many of them. It's not just one. It's the solar plexus. Yeah, so I also always, in a way, I think maybe they might be the gateways to the parallel universes. Maybe all of them are maybe connected, just like trees we see. It is indeed remarkable that, on the one hand, the scientific world reflects on certain phenomena, while on the other hand, NDE people seem to have experienced these same phenomena. So I would like to summarize from what I have learned from you, what we have learned from you, Maureen. The process of the emission of light out of the body near death, the cold, dark, vast void, the speed of light, the curvature of space-time, endless tunnels through the universe.
Right.
Yes, excellent. For our first phase, and just like you have 5 phases in your theory, this is the first phase of our deep interview with Maureen Venselaar.
Yeah. Thank you. Next time we'll set a date for last phase to explain the third phase, being in the light and being in the unconditional love of God, or the beginning of time.
Thank you so much, Maureen. It was a great adventure, a journey to have an interview with you. I felt like I was taking a journey in space. I felt so interesting, seriously.
Yeah, and me too, especially because you tell something about the Sufis and Muhammad and so on. So, of course, I studied that also a little bit, but you know much more about those things. So thank you for telling about that input. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Just like the Bible says, let there be light. Let there be light. Maureen, it was really a great interview. To have this great interview, you have given us so much insight and so much to think and ponder on. So thank you so much for the first phase of our interview. Thank you so much for sharing your great theory, which I believe will reach millions and will turn on a lot of lights in so many hearts and minds. So see you next time, hopefully very soon. To hear from you is a gift for us. So thank you so much again for being together with us today.
Thank you, and I'm also very grateful to you, and I wish for you and all the listeners gifts of light and love and peace for the world. All the best, and we'll talk to you later on.
Oh, thank you.